not going to get a second chance in the game.
I'm Travis James. I'm the offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach here at Illinois College. Today, we're going to talk about the ISO play in the spread offense, the different ways that we get to it, the different ways that we ISO the defense, the different players that we use to ISO the defense. So we're really excited that you're here with us here today at Illinois College. We're going to start with our slides and go through the basic installation of the play, get on the board a little bit, and then we're going to get to the film. So before we get going with the intricacies of the play, I want to talk a little bit about who we are offensively, what we do here, and what our goals are. And so you see right here at the top of the screen, you see a phrase that we talk about consistently on the offense here at Illinois College, and that phrase is respect comes from fear. You see our logo in the bottom, which is actually inspired by Coach Albaugh. We made a few of these on offense, defense, even for the program. And so you see our skull and crossbones and that menacing logo. But what it means for us is four things. And so the F in fear stands for fury, number one. We want to play with intensity and passion and focus. And most importantly, for this game, we want to play extremely violent. And we believe that if you are playing at your very best and if you are playing as hard as you can get that done and you can affect the way that we win games. The second piece of that is execution. You can be the biggest badass that there is, but if you don't know what's going on, then you're not going to be very good to us offensively. And so that affects the way that we teach as a coaching staff. That affects every word that we use when we talk about our scheme. And obviously we hope that that allows our guys to play with a lot of confidence. The next piece is attitude. Obviously that's a self-explanatory word for us, but the way that we want our guys to think is not only are they trying to affect and attack an opponent, but deep down they also know that they're going to drive a better car and live in a bigger house and have a better looking wife and all those things, even better than the opponents that we're playing. We want our guys to strive to be the best of the best. And the last piece is response. And so a lot of times when we draw things up as coaches, we draw static pictures up and things that don't change and adversity that's not there, and we expect that the way that we draw a play up is going to be with the best possible guys that we have. Well, sometimes that's just not true. And so we need to put our guys in adverse situations and teach them to respond. So that's who we are. That's who we coach to on a consistent basis. Our fundamental belief here offensively is that the game is won and lost. It is won and lost in the middle of the field. We want to force the defense to adjust to how we attack the edge in our system. And so you see a couple of examples here, whether it's our formational spacing, whether it's with screens or perimeter runs, etc. We want you to declare who you are in terms of where you're aligning as a defender. And that, your defensive adjustment to how we attack the perimeter is going to allow us to have an understanding of how we're going to take what we want, which once again is the middle of the football field. So based on your alignment, we're going to obviously try to beat you with a vertical pass or a vertical run, which are the two fastest ways to score a touchdown. Moving forward, our basic philosophy, I think great teams have really strong tendencies, and our three tendencies that we live up to and try to make our philosophy we're going to go through here together. And so the first one is speed, speed, speed. And so I've worked in multiple systems in my coaching career thus far, and I've coached in true huddle systems and true spread up-tempo systems. And when you're dealing with the West Coast, you're dealing with play calls like solo right snug, pass 94 punch, 600 jet Arizona. That's not very conducive for our guys and our players, especially with the way kids learn in 2017. So one of the lessons that I pulled was that it's easy to teach fast guys to slow down, whether it's technique or tempo or anything else we're doing, but it's hard to teach slow guys to speed up, whether it's a situational necessity or it's something else that we need to do, whether we're trying to capitalize on a situation. We want to make sure that we are always teaching fast and operating fast, and then we'll slow down as time moves on or a situation dictates. Our second tendency is we're going to establish a dominant rushing attack in every formation that we line up in. And we think that we can do that because of the simplicity with which we teach. Our run game is based in four concepts and no spread snobs. It's not all zone. We major in gap scheme here, and we'll talk through that a little bit. But the simplicity of the way that we teach our run games allows for ease of adjustment and us to be able to attack multiple players within the front. By establishing the threat of run out of every formation, we want to control the physical tempo of the game. And so that allows us to consistently manipulate the secondary with what we're doing with action and motion and formation. And then obviously that's getting us once again back to that innate desire to control the middle of the field. And also, we want to exploit a defense's number one paranoia, which you sit in any defensive coordinator's meeting room on day one and they want to say that they want to stop the run. We want to make sure that whatever tactics that they're going to use, we want to make sure that we have answers to make them be paranoid about how physical we are on the line of scrimmage. And now, we're not dumb here. We understand that with ease of adjustment and the advances in the speed of the defenses that we play, we have to protect our formations and we have to protect our core runs, and we do so with the option game. And so we're a run-pass option team, we're a run-run option team, and we're a play-action team. At the end of the day, we have to have answers to combat not only the addition of numbers, but also the flow of elite defenders. And so the last tendency that we have is that we're going to maintain an explosive vertical passing game. So we want to take advantage of a defensive's second greatest priority, which is to not get beat over the top, right? Every defensive coordinator, they want to stop the run and they don't want to get beat deep. Well, we feel like we should better be pretty good at the things that they're going to be preaching to their guys all the time, because what a helpless feeling it is when you can't stop an offense, especially when you spend so much time preparing against it. And so like I mentioned before, the fastest way to score a touchdown is a vertical pass down the middle of the field. And so that basically in our minds is a quick strike. And we want to maintain that quick strike ability regardless of our formation and regardless of our personnel. The last piece of that is we want to consistently challenge linebacker and DB matchups with our skill players. We believe that the combination of our alignment, the combination of our technique, and the combination of our athleticism that we put on the field every Saturday puts us in an excellent position to win a lot of vertical matchups that we're going to see during the course of the year. So jumping back one moment to the run game, this will kind of help you understand some of the ways and how we adjust as we move on throughout the year. We are a conceptual teaching offense in everything that we do. Everything is tied to a concept that in turn has a common core set of rules. And so that set of blocking rules allows for ease of adjustment. We have a rule in our offense. It's called the two-man rule. If our rule is changing or our adjustment is changing more than two people's responsibility on a base play, we don't do it, because then it's not a base play anymore. We're adding a play to the playbook, and it has to be treated as such. And so we go through a lot of study and going back and forth to make sure that that's worthwhile for the direction of the offense. And so at the end of the day, with our base rules and with our adjustments, we have a run menu that allows us to attack every player in a front. Linebacker, defensive end, defensive tackle does not matter. We want to alter the way that the defense is being blocked. We're going to base block you, reach block you, double team you, trap you, ISO you, all those things, read you. We have a lot of different ways that we can help control, slow down, and once again, physically dominate you. I mentioned this before. We major in gap scheme and we minor in zone. And I know that sounds kind of funky, but we minor in zone. We only have one zone play, and that's our outside zone play, and we spend a lot of time working that. But I don't want to confuse our guys' minds, especially the O-line and the backs, with a variety of different zone blocking schemes and a variety of different zone aiming points, because now I'm taking away from the mastery of that play. And so I'd much rather major in gap scheme and have a lot more variety of ways to attack you within the front. Our run game must transcend our O-line limitations. Our lack of depth or injury is not an excuse for us. And so that some years we may be a huge stretch team where we run it all the time because we got linemen who are big enough to not allow penetration but agile enough to reach guys. And other years, we may, just like this past year, we have to lean heavily on plays like power and ISO and push zone, which are things for us that allow us to be a little bit more physical at the point of attack, because we need as much help from our buddies as possible. And obviously our run game must highlight the strengths of the backfield. So sometimes the running back is not the fast guy on the field. Sometimes you have to use a receiver to get the ball into a guy with some speed. And so we're consistently evaluating where we're at in terms of skill. So now to the ISO play itself. So our fourth core run, and I say fourth because it's going to be the last one that we install, is ISO. And we have two versions of it here. Blast is the traditional ISO that you're thinking about as I'm speaking. So The superback or the running back is going to be the ISO player. They are going to be, they're going to be ISO in the first play side linebacker inside the box. If we run wrap, however, being a spread offense, we want to make sure that we have ways to get to that ISO play without having to pull an extra offensive blocker in the box on a consistent basis. And so in wrap, some people call it dart, we use a pulling offensive lineman as the ISO player. And so why ISO? We want a fast downhill run. We want an A-gap run, another way to control the middle of the field physically. And it also allows us to consistently add a gap to the interior run game regardless of the personnel, as you'll see, and regardless of the formation. And so here we are. So now we get to the rules, the application of it. And so we're going to go through the rules here, and then we'll break away to the board for a little bit more live look at what we're doing. And so our blocking rules are basic. We only have 4. One of our challenges and one of my challenges as a coordinator is every run blocking scheme that we have is limited to 4 rules. If I have more than 4 rules, I'm starting to get into a lot of things for our guys to remember just how to block a base play. Yes, there's adjustments. Yes, there's line calls. Yes, there's things that our guys remember over the course of time. But in terms of blocking the play itself, everything goes back to our 4 rules. So for ISO, here are our 4. Number 1, we will always want to double the nose guard. If there is no nose guard, the defense is in a tray front, for example, the center knows that he's now going to work away from the ISO linebacker. The first linebacker play side of the center is who we ISO, very simply. Number 3, if not involved in a double team, you're going to solo block the defensive lineman. And you see in parentheses a dummy split. A dummy split is an indicator to their offensive line that tells us that they can look like an accordion almost along the front. If you know you're going to be involved in a double team, you're probably going to tighten your split down. If you know you're going to be involved in one of those solo blocks, you're probably going to widen your split out because you know you're going to be by yourself. And the 4th rule for us is a pulling call that we talk about. Taco for tackle, Joe for guard, to determine who is pulling when we're running wrap. Okay? The ball carrier rules. We are an A-gap aiming point. So we're going to line up on the same side if we're running blast, opposite if we're running wrap. And we're going to slide step to the quarterback and go. The coaching point for that backer, for that ball carrier, I apologize, is to blow the top off the stovepipe. You want to be at full speed at the line of scrimmage as you're pressing the heels of the down lineman. If you're trying to make a cut or make an adjustment in the backfield, you're going to slow down the urgency of the play and you're going to slow down our ability to move the line of scrimmage. We want this to hit fast. And the last point, as a reminder for the ball carrier, is we're going to color read the backside linebacker. If we sense and we see that his color is going to play over the top, that as we press our A-gap aiming point, we're going to roll off that A-gap aiming point and replace that color and once again get down vertical down the middle of the field. I tell our ball carriers all the time, I'm going to coach you the way I want it to be done for about the first 2 to 3 seconds of the play. After that, you go be a baller. You go make a play, you go be an athlete, and we're going to be in pretty good shape. So before we jump into film, I just want to make sure that we're clear on the application of our rules versus what we consider our 4 base fronts. So what you see up here is under, over, okie, and stack. We would need to make sure that no matter what our rules are, that we're good versus those 4 primary fronts that we're going to see on a consistent basis. And so the number 1 rule that we talk about all the time in the ISO play is that we always want a double team on the nose guard. And so you see, when we're playing against 4 down linemen, and if the nose guard is on the play side, that makes our life really easy. We understand that we have to double him away from the ISO linebacker, in this case, the Mike. Obviously, in the over picture, it makes the path of the superback, or whoever the ISO player is going to be, a little bit different because he has to read the block of the guard on the 3 technique in terms of whether he's going to enter in the A-gap or enter in the B-gap based on the movement of the 3 technique. And our nose guard double team is going to come on the backside, which is a little counterintuitive. So we have to make sure that our offensive lineman's eyes are in the correct place, in this case, on the will linebacker. In the bottom picture here against an okie front, we want to make sure that we understand that we got a big old open B-gap bubble. So let's maintain that B-gap bubble with our splits. And obviously our guard's going to tighten down just a little bit to make sure that we get a great vertical double team there on the nose guard, working back to the plug linebacker. We'll fan away. Obviously, if we're running the ISO play versus an Okie defense, we need to put a tight end in the game to make sure that we can control who in this case is going to be the 7th defender for us in the box. And then against the stack, this is a little bit funkier of a situation because that double team is going to move vertical very fast. And based on how good of a player that is, that double team is going to come undone very fast. So we need to make sure that we're getting not only tighter splits at the point of attack, but also I teach our guys to jump up on the ball a little bit more to initiate that double team a whole lot faster, okay? Second rule for us is we want to ISO the first inside linebacker to the play side. That's a pretty easy thing for us to do. Obviously, in a 4-down picture, if there's only 2 birds in the box, you're going to ISO the one to the play side. Same thing here against the Okie front. Where it gets a little hairy is when we have 3 backers in the box. We're going to count that Mike linebacker, that inside true Mike middle linebacker, as ours, as part of the offensive lines, all right? And then we are going to put the super backer, whoever the ISO player is, on the next linebacker outside of the Mike for ease of movement and for ease of the superback's entry, all right? The third piece of it is, rather, that everybody else is a man blocker. It doesn't get much easier than that in terms of our rules. And so you're going to see everywhere else across the front, if you're not involved in the ISO scheme, the double team, or ISOing the linebacker, that you're going to be in a one-on-one blocking situation. So here we are running ISO. This is about what everybody thinks when you're going to get the ISO play. We're in 21 personnel. We're inside of our own 5-yard line. We got to dig ourselves out. We got to move the ball. And so obviously we just went through all of our blocking schemes, and you had us in the same formation when we were getting ready to block ISO versus an Okie front. And so obviously now we're talking about moving the down guys. Obviously number 33, who is our super back in this case, is going to run on a full head of steam. He wants to tattoo, at the end of the day, his eyes on the inside V of this inside backer to the call side. You're going to see here as we watch the tape that these linebackers understood that they were not even close to as physical as our guys. So they cut our pullers, they cut our uncovered linemen consistently through the course of the game. Now you see, luckily for us, we recruit athletes around here, and so Greg Cross is more athletic than just about everybody else on the defense, leaps over that linebacker who cuts our fullback, and we do a really good job of getting out and getting rolling at the point of attack. Once again, you're going to see the right guard, number 78, does a great job coming down, knocking that nose across the face of our center and working up to that backside backer. That allows Greg the opportunity to jump that linebacker once again, jump that pile, and get working. Notice if you are a covered offensive lineman and you're on a solo block, most of these guys are stepping with their inside foot. That's a defense mechanism that we build into our footwork to anticipate us protecting an interior run lane. Number 70, the right tackle, steps a little big with his right foot, but you see that he's working inside out because he understands the A-gap running lane with the running back. So against Okie defense, we like to run the blast play, the ISO play, weak or strong. We know that we can control that Sam linebacker, that outside backer with our tight end, and obviously we're going to fan out on the backside and control the will linebacker with the offensive line. When we're playing a 4-down team, we want to run the ball weak. We do it for 2 reasons. Usually, they're going to play a shade opposite the tight end, and that's going to give us an easier path to run to ISO with the fullback, and then usually we're running away from the remainder of the numbers that are going to be stacked up to the strong side of the formation. So in this particular case, you see that we have 3 inside backers, and so the way that we're going to coach it is this. We're going to double team once again, and we're going to take that to the Mike linebacker, very similar to the way that we talked about it versus the stack. And then we're going to big block everywhere else. We're going to big block that 4. We're going to go on ISO that will backer. We're going to big block the 3, and we're going to fan it over here on the backside. We also have the adjustment on the backside where we can double that backside 3 technique because of the alignment to that backside, in this case, the backside linebacker who is the Sam. So here we go. What you'll see the fullback do, number 33, he does a great job. Watch his helmet peek out there towards the will linebacker. Once again, this is proving that he understands the aiming point. He sees him jump outside of the right tackle, so that tells him, I'm not going to go out there and chase him. I'm going to keep my behind running on my course in the A-gap, and there he is. And even though we got a 2-for-1 on the mic, we're blocking an A-gap run. We're in good shape because the defense told us what to do. He decides to jump outside in the C-gap, and so we're going to put the guard and the fullback both on that backer, and look, lo and behold, once again, a big old strong run and a 10-yard gain for us. So now we're working into 10 personnel. Obviously, we're in 3-by-1, something that you don't traditionally see the ISO play being run in. And so obviously, the box is going to spread out, or we're going to now be at a numbers advantage, and we're going to run the blast play inside once again. But the rules don't change. We're going to have a double team on the nose guard. In this case, it just so happens that he's on the front side of the play, and we're going to double team him away from that ISO backer. The right tackle is going to big block that 5. The left guard is going to big block the 3, and the left tackle is going to big block the 5 technique. And then the running back is coming downhill, and he's going to be the ISO player for us on the quarterback run in this particular case. You see, as we snap the ball, watch the center's eyes snap to that backside backer. He fully understands what's going on. More importantly, everybody who is in a solo block is taking what we call that safety step, protecting that inside run lane and making sure that our guys and the back and the ball carrier have a great path. Even though the quarterback is in a particular RPO adjustment that we made, he understands that if he strays very far from the A-gap, he's not going to be in a good decision. So you see as he drifts, he's coming down back towards the play side A-gap. We end up throwing the ball, but you still understand the simplicity of the system as it applies regardless of personnel. So now from the now we've transitioned out of what we would consider traditional ISO, two-back ISO, whether it's a super back as the ISO player, running back as the ISO player, and now we're transitioning into something that's a little bit more common in the spread offense with 10 and 11 personnel, and we're going to ISO with the offensive line. And so you see we're in a 2-by-2 set right here, and I'm going to go to the tight copy so we can see what's going on. So now, against 4-down linemen, we're going to pull our tackle. And so, but for everybody else, the blocking rules remain the same. And so we're going to see, we're going to double the nose. Once again, we know it's commonplace. That's just what we do. That's our rule. We're going to double team the nose away from the ISO. Everybody else is a man blocker. We're going to ISO the first linebacker, play side, and then the ISO player now is going to be a puller. In this case, against 4-down, we're going to pull that tackle, and he's going to come through, and he's going to ISO that front side backer. Because we don't have a blocker on the back side, the quarterback is now forced into an option relationship with this backside DN, and he is going to replace him in a zone read situation, even though it's not zone, to replace him if he turns his shoulders and pins towards the back. Right here, he ends up playing flat-footed, non-committal, so Blake does a great job getting the ball to Greg. Logan Chippert, the right tackle, does a great job pulling around and smacks that inside backer. Watch Greg, the power of the aiming point, downhill. Watch that double team explode open, the puller explode open, and there he goes. About 45, 50 yards to the house, and we're in good shape. You see everybody celebrating. The Blue Boys are happy on a Saturday afternoon. So here we go. Let's keep moving along. So here, once again, moving to the tight copy. In this case, we're going to run the wrap play strong. We're still running against 4-down linemen. We know that we're going to get a double team on the nose, like we talked about already, and we're going to take that thing vertical, in this case to 56. Not a very advantageous matchup right now because of where he's aligned, but we're going to get a big block on number 3, and we're going to fan out here with the tackle and the guard to handle that head-up 8 technique and obviously the overhang backer. Being an ISO play, we're going to pull around, and we're going to ISO that joker right there. But we need a replacement for the backside. And so we're going to read the backside defensive end to replace the backside tackle who's pulling. In this case, they're playing a crash game on the backside, what we would call a Zorro game in our system, okay? And so they're going to Zorro down. You can see the defensive end turn his shoulders towards the back. Drew Chance, a young freshman quarterback, does an awesome job reading the dive, and he pulls. He even tries to keep it as tight as he can. Once again, we're not expecting this to be a big old explosive gain for us, but what Drew's doing, more importantly, is shows knowledge of the system. He's using the system, and we're still in pretty good shape. We're alive with about a 5-yard gain on this particular play. So when the defense is starting to play gap exchange games on the backside, we need to make sure we have answers. So our definition of gap exchange is really one of two things that it boils down to. Either they're going to jump the end in the B gap and they're going to loop the backside inside backer out, or, for example, they're going to play the defensive end in the B gap, or they'll keep him in the C gap and spin this safety down late for run support, trying to take away the element of the quarterback run option. So in those particular cases, we're going to now put a tight end on the backside. Once again, based on his rules, he's going to be a man blocker to replace the pulling tackle, and now we have a 6-man blocking scheme combined with a +1 run. And so here we go right here with our ISO rules. We're in a little bit of wildcat here. Great double team once again at the play side. You see the front side tackle. I'd like his split to be a little bit better, but once again, by his technique, you can still see he's trying to spring that B gap open. Okay, the backside tight end does a great job of scooping the backside out. And even though we're in a wildcat situation, there is no mesh. Look at the quarterback as he is holding the line and holding the aiming point. Once again, double team springs right open, and there he goes. Gone, out the gate. Once again, he does it right. He does it our way for about the first 2 seconds, and then he goes and does exciting things like that. Once again, everybody's hooting, hollering, scoring, and we're in good shape. So here we are against 3 down linemen. So we talked about that we're going to pull the tackle versus 4 down. But against 3 down, we're going to pull the guard. It's a pretty common sense approach. Obviously, the guard's going to be a bubble player against 3 down. And so we want to make sure that we're getting him to be the puller. We'll man the tackle up on that other player, that backside defensive end now. And so just to rehash, we're going to get a double team at the point of attack on the nose guard, taking him back to the backside backer. We're going to big block the front side. We're going to big block the backside, and we're going to pull around for number 34. Watch Jason, the running back in this case, great power on his aiming point, running downhill, forcing those backers to get sucked up. The left tackle in this case is getting that 4 technique, jumping across his face. There's no need to panic. If you can get your hat inside of him on that course, excellent. If not, you drop your inside foot and you run him as fast as you can. As pullers, they are coached to not chase, just replace. And so if they feel that that inside backer that they're pulling for is jumping outside, get vertical, and you'll pick up the next guy who runs through. So here we are once again versus 3 down linemen. We have 2-5 techniques in this picture, which our tackles always love versus an interior run. And so here we go. We're actually going to run wrap to the right side in this particular picture. So here we are coming down big and square on that double team. Even though that backer plays across the top, number 50, we feel pretty strong with the path of the back hitting in that A-gap as fast as he does right here, and the power of that puller coming around, that we're going to be in good shape. And you see Greg Cross coming down here on a pretty good first down run. Once again, notice the tackles. They're protecting their inside aiming point. They're protecting that inside gap. And the running back does a great job getting downhill. Once again, pressing the A-gap, pressing the behind of the center, getting those backers, number 50 and number 8, to come downhill right now, and then he explodes once our guys have made contact, and we're in good shape. Here is an example. We've talked about all these examples of the running back and the ball carriers being excellent on their aiming point, but I think it's also important to show what happens when you're not and when you're wide. And so in this particular case, number 25 is going to be our ball carrier. And you can see right now, even before he takes the ball, he's starting to bow his path out. He's starting to follow the guard too soon. Versus right now, if you see, if he would have been on the A gap, look at all that space he has to work with. And so now, that guy who falls into the play late as Bo's trying to make a big explosive in the hole cut and falls into an arm tackle and then a gang tackle, Bo is turning that tackle, that over-the-top linebacker, into an arm tackle at best if he just holds his aiming point. So now on contrast, that's early in the year. Late in the year, here we are again, running the wrap, the ISO play. We're in a situation where where we've put the tight end on the backside to make sure that we don't have to read anything. Watch what Bo's aiming point does in this picture. Watch 38 and 36 get sucked downhill, and the running back now, at this point now, he wants the A gap. However, he's told that if the A gap is filled, follow the puller. And so instead of him jumping out and assuming that he's going to follow the puller, he's pressed the aiming point and forced those linebackers to come downhill. He decides to follow the puller now, makes a good jump cut on the defensive side of the line of scrimmage, and he almost scores here with a great run down what we call the sidewalk. So that's in a nutshell what the ISO play is, just in its base essence, making sure that everybody is blocked. But as we all know, we all have to have adjustments to our scheme to make sure that we're able to consistently run it versus varying fronts and varying coverages and varying really just impactful defenders. And so here's one of our first adjustments, which we call flash and bash, which are sweep reads for us. And so in this case, the running back is going to be the horizontal stretch player and is going to stretch, and his path is to get outside the numbers. And so as teams start to become accustomed to wrap and any play that we obviously have to have adjustments to make sure that we're keeping them on their toes. And so this is where one of our adjustments that we're going to go through right now is our sweep read play. So where the running back is going to be the horizontal stretch player, and his path is to get out to the numbers and turn vertical. And the quarterback is now going to be the interior run player. This is nothing revolutionary. You guys see it all the time with power read and other things of the sort. We're just combining it with our ISO play in this particular look. And so you see, even though 47 is diving inside the box, this linebacker to the boundary, he still expands with Jason. And so the quarterback makes a great decision and he gets downhill. Not an explosive run, but he's using the system, and it's a first down run, which is the most important piece. So here we go from the tight copy. One of the things, two major problems with this particular play. Let's watch 78. 78 has to understand that when he turns his eyes and he puts two hands on this nose guard, that he is not going to be able to open his base back up and get to that linebacker playing over the top very well. He plays linebacker and you play guard for a reason. He's more athletic than you. So based on your footwork, based on your eyes, put yourself consistently in a position where you can combat his strength, which is speed over the top. The other problem with this is the eyes of the ball carrier. We talked earlier, this is a perfect color read situation. Now I understand the space is tight, but Devin, if his eyes are right, should be looking and peeking out of his left eye as that backer's playing over the top for him to replace that color and get back down towards the middle of the field. Here's another adjustment. So against an Okie front, we're traditionally going to run that sweep read play out the front side. But against 4 down, we're blocking the front side. We got everybody taken care of. And so now we're going to adjust and we're going to actually read the backside. And so we're going to put that backside defensive end that we were worried about reading in a zone read, for lack of a better term, situation. We're going to put him in major conflict to make him either expand with the back who's sprinting towards the sideline or to pinch down and run with the quarterback. In this case, number 99 is going to play flat-footed. He's going to play flat-footed, and so the quarterback, when in doubt, is going to run the play that's being called. We do a great job of kicking that ISO player. The ISO linebacker is going to trigger. The puller does a great job triggering on him. And Blake, the quarterback, does a great job getting downhill for an explosive run. Once again, a first down run for us because he's using the system. One of our other adjustments is wrap lead. And so in a lead situation, what we're trying to do is get into a more advantageous +1 run situation when we feel in true power, true down, kick out power against an Okie front, is that we're going to be down a hat, whether we're going to be, and it's usually going to be that Sam linebacker if we're in an 11 personnel situation. So instead, we adjust to what we call wrap lead. And so the only adjustment here, once again getting back to the two-man rule, is going to deal with two players. It's going to be the super back and it's going to be the play side tackle. Everybody else is blocking wrap. We're still going to double the nose. We're still going to pull for 34, and we're still going to block the backside. The difference now becomes the play side tackle. He's going to veer release out for the outside backer, and we're actually now going to get a big old heavy kick out on the front side defensive end. So as you see, even the action of the left tackle expanding forces the DN to expand, which makes the superback's job pretty darn easy. We do a great job getting vertical on our pull, just like we're coached. Bo does a great job, once again, attacking his aiming point. The A-gap is closed. He rolls. And we have safeties down in the briar patch making tackles, which sets up a variety of things. And we're going to get to some of that here in just a little bit. Here's another example of the lead play for us. You see a great job of us getting up to the backside backer, which springs that A-gap to where it's wide open. Once again, we got a safety who does a horrible job of trying to come down and fit. You can tell he wants no part of Bo Davis, a 225-pound running back, screaming in the A-gap. And then we get to turn this play into about a 35-yard gain because we're off to the races. We got great movement on the line of scrimmage, and Bo's out here being a hell of a football player. Once again, another look at lead for us, this time coming on the right side. What you see now is the right guard does not use his footwork very well. You see he has 2 feet in the air at one time, which allows that nose guard to cross his face. And to be quite honest, we're pretty clogged up at the point of attack. We got penetration on the front side, but it all gets back to our aiming point with the back. The back is still pressing the line of scrimmage, still pressing the A-gap, still pressing the center. He's got all these linebackers sucked up into the O-line, sucked into the line of scrimmage, and next thing you know, he just rolls right off that A-gap for another first down for the Blue Boys. That is a fantastic job. Last look at lead here is an important adjustment for us. And so the front side is going to remain the same, but I want to draw our attention in particular to an adjustment you're going to see with the puller. And so I told you earlier that against 3 down, we want to pull the guard. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to have a backside tackle try to big block a 4-eye when we're trying to aim at the A-gap with the back. That is what we call a losing matchup. I wouldn't be a very good coach if I taught our offensive line those tools. So instead, we make a line call, and we have a system that tells us what's going on. But in short, we have presence in the B-gap in this particular play. So the guard is going to block out, and we're going to make our call to pull with the tackle in this particular case, and he is now going to become the ISO player once again. So we're protecting the integrity of our gaps, and we're getting an extra hat on the point of attack. Once again, with the lead player, which is a great run once again by Bo Davis, attacking that aiming point, and great movement on the nose guard, a good physical run against a pretty good football team. So working through the last run adjustment that we have is the trap side of it. And so we get to trap from our ISO series. And so I'm going to show you 2 examples. This one is our wrap adjustment. And so essentially what we're going to do is we're going to exchange the block of the front side guard with whoever the puller is on the back side, whether it's a tackle, whether it's the guard. And so everybody else, nothing changes. Once again, the 2-man rule. If it changes more than 2 men's rules, it's not going to work. And so what you're going to see our guys do is that the front side guard and the puller, once again against 4 down, it's going to be the tackle, are going to exchange blocks. And so we're going to big block on the 5. We're going to jump on the outside backer who's out of our screen in this particular case, jump on the inside backer, jump on the backside 3. We're going to scoop and cut this joker down on the backside, and we're going to pull, and we're going to trap the snot out of that nose guard. You see us come through. The O-line on the front side using a great technique. They are faking a double team. They're faking that double team with their footwork and their demeanor because we want these defensive linemen who wake up in the morning, bash their head against the wall, and go about their day and not very smart. We want to trick them to root themselves in the ground against our double team. And you see it gets him to stumble. And when he stumbles, he has no idea that, boom, there's the trap. And we got a big old gain out of it with a big old 230-pound running back coming down the pipe in the A-gap. This is a great job by all involved. So the other adjustment is the same idea. We want to run that trap adjustment that we talked about, but this time we're going to do it off of our ISO play, our blast play that we talked about before. So now the trapper is actually going to be our fullback. And so everybody else is on their ISO footwork, but the superback and the right guard are going to exchange blocks. Remember, we want to fool and trick these guys that we're going to trap. So you're going to see our right guard give a high hat and clap right in the face of that 3 technique, trying to trick him and occupy his attention for the trapper to come through and smack him. So once again, high hat clap right in front of that guy's face. You see him widen. He's a lot less occupied. He turns his head inside of the last second. We have a pretty good trap, wham, some call it, at the play side. And once again, that's an adjustment on a base scheme, not a new play, an adjustment on a base scheme for us. And so the last piece that I want to talk to you about today is our play action game that comes off of this. And so we want to show the ISO action with our backs, with whether it's a tight end and a running back or a fullback and a running back, whatever the case may be. We want to show you that ISO action, and obviously that's inevitably going to have us take a deep shot down the field. So here we are. We'll watch it from the wide at first. We're giving action with our back with flow. And you see, watch these backers. That's all we need. All that simple step, that's all we need. You can't low plane that post route that we have going on behind them. We're in good shape. I would love for the running back, Greg in this case, to have come downhill with a token fake, but he's afraid of this rusher, so he goes and gets him right now, which is fine. And we have enough time to take a shot right down the middle of the field. Once again, you see from the tight copy with our action, you see the linebacker step downhill, and then obviously everybody has a point into protection. We're running slide protection. They're running some games inside, but they're getting the action of the ISO, and we spring us open. It doesn't get more middle of the field than that, than right over the pad on the goalpost. So here we are, once again, taking a shot. So we're running our ISO path inside. You get a little bit better token fake out of the quarterback. The running back does a good job with his ball handling, which we'll see a little bit better in the tight. We're running a double move down here at the bottom of the screen. Quarterback delivers a great ball, but once again, we're getting sucked up with action, and we're getting pulled with action. By we, I mean the defense. And we know that we're going to ensure a one-on-one matchup outside. And so from the tight copy, you can see that number one, the superback does a great job adjusting down to that A-gap blitzer, which is his job in this particular protection. And you see not only the token fake by the running back, but the little bit of a shoulder lean by the quarterback, and then the running back snaps his eyes outside, realizes he has no work, and it wouldn't matter because the Blue Boys are scoring yet again. So here's our last adjustment that we're going to talk about today. And so the traditional thing, obviously, that you've seen in this formation, and I'm sure that happens with most people, is that when we get in this sniffer back situation, the defense is anticipating run. And so in this particular case, to back you off of our core runs and to back you off of our formations, we're going to find a way to throw the ball vertically down the middle of the field. So not only are we going to pair this with action, but we're going to use the superback as an indicator as the indicator for the quarterback for our number one read. So here we are, first play of the game. You see the superback come Scott downhill, and you can see how eager and downhill that backer is. It's sitting right over the top of his head. That safety has no idea what's going on in the middle of the field, and there we go. We drill a ball right down the middle of the field, and a great shot. From the tight copy, you're going to see we're going to pair it with action from the back. We're going to cross the back. He's got that same token fake. You can see the head fake and the shoulder fake by the quarterback, and it springs the tight end and the superback, wide open down the middle of the field. Doesn't get more wide open than that. And once again, the linebacker is still none the wiser. He's still in the line of scrimmage peeking at what we have going on. And so obviously, even the best laid plans have problems. And so let's watch the superback in this case. We're running our same play here. Not only is he caught up on the line of scrimmage, but when he starts to press vertical, he's covered by the fill inside backer and by that strong safety. Well, we've built it in the progression of the quarterback that just because the number one read is not there doesn't mean that you have to be wrong. The quarterback plays this with confidence and resets his feet to our number two read and this progression and throws a great sideline vertical. And we're moving the ball once again, all off of that ISO action again. Here we are, so we can see the protection. Running simple slide protection up front. Once again, token fake by the running back with his big arm motion, trying to get those backers downhill, which you can see we fool one, not the other, who sits on our super back. But we know that we're going to end up working the sideline because we're going to have a one-on-one matchup, which we feel confident that we can win. Thank you guys very much for joining me here today. I hope that you got quite a bit of info from us and just a very small piece of our offense, but it's an allusion to how we window dress things and how much thought process that we put into everything that we do, how intentional our teaching is, how intentional we are in terms of putting guys in great positions to be successful. If you ever need anything from Illinois College, feel free to reach out to me, and I look forward to hearing from you, and good luck in your season.